Welcome to the Studio 70 podcast. Our goal is for you to join in on real, behind-the-scenes conversations about our projects and the people who make them happen. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome back to our next episode on the history of Studio 70, our story. And we are entering the year of COVID, I suppose. But to really quickly recap, before that, we had talked about broadcasting and how that was really the bread and butter of Studio 70 for a long time. And truly, we wouldn't have the space that we have. We wouldn't have a lot of the tech that we had at this point if it weren't for Mr. Martin, for Mrs. Kimple, Mrs. Norton, the investment, time, and finances that they had made to create this little studio. So now we start steering the boat in a different direction. And one pivotal moment in that, I think, was working with the elementary gifted program as well, which you remember me like running off to work with sixth graders.
It was, so the whole year was hectic overall, but there's a specific month or two, I think in the spring semester, just when I felt like we had it kind of figured out, where for about a month straight, at least once or twice a week, not quite sure. Maybe was it every day at that time?
That one was every day.
Okay, yeah. So every single day for like a month, at some point, Parenti would go teach a bunch of very small children, like fifth, sixth grade, something like that, how to make films. And maybe bookmark that. Like you can imagine, kind of think it's going to be kids. They're going to be cute. They're going to be gifted. They're going to be fun. And it was really beneficial. And it will come to be important later. Because if you can imagine, if this is 4 years ago and these kids are in sixth grade, perhaps they are older now,
right?
Because of time.
Their characters will return to the narrative
in a later episode.
Yes. So that was really cool because I think that was actually our first time. Really, it was my first year, sixth graders. We produced a short film. That was even before we turned and started doing short films with the high schoolers. So it was a little bit of a proof of concept, which was kind of cool. But anyway, jumping in, forward, it's COVID. You're hired.
I am.
You had shared a little bit about your first days in our introduction episode, which I absolutely loved. But so you're team teaching broadcasting with me. You're running photography. I'm doing the film studies, and it's really our first time trying to do a full season of short films rather than Parenti kind of leading the way with the Firmament and the Pirate film. The students are now really encouraged and inspired to write and direct their own projects. Do you remember any of the short films from that particular season?
Yeah. So for me, this was like to me, it didn't seem as much like a shift as much as like this is just what we're doing and me trying to figure it out. In hindsight, now I realize everyone was kind of figuring it out, which makes me feel a little better. I remember Lost Son, which I think was the first one. That didn't happen until like October, though. We didn't jump in, right?
Correct. That's Logan Weisberg was the director.
Logan Weisberg's directing. And I remember on that being a teacher and feeling like I was supposed to have answers, but not being a part of this actually feeling continues to this day, but not being part of, your class. So not knowing the dynamics of the students, but we get on set, right? Let me give some, story about the film. Lost Son, is about it's allegorical a little bit. It's based on kind of the story of the prodigal son.
Yeah, totally.
This has been, I guess, a while now. But it's a kidnapping film. So we've got a guy with a bag on his head in the back of a van, and some people who have kidnapped him. And then his spoiler, it's been out for a while. Spoiler: his father is gonna ransom him, even though he's been a bad boy. And so part of that was actually really easy to film, like in the back of the van. It's like, you just kind of shake the camera and it's like
a couple of LEDs.
Yeah. And then part of it was like, oh, let's have someone hit Mr. DeMoss with like a hammer. And like, oh, okay. Like that was a little crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You and I were both bad guys.
We were both bad.
Yeah.
Wait, no. I was good. I played like the Christ figure.
Oh, you played the brother who came with the ransom.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did. Okay. This has been a minute. So
wow.
You hit me with the hammer.
Yes.
That was you. Okay. I forgot.
Crushed.
And I think I maybe hit Stephen Hedger with a fire extinguisher. I'll have to check the footage.
That sounds familiar.
As part of the film, I should clarify.
Oh, and then you get shot.
I get shot.
We
also.
like bloody your button down.
We're really all over the place. This is not to like throw shade on our program. Like we've improved, obviously. Like, and I'm part of the program, so this is also on me.
Yeah.
But like, I get to set, and like the art department, who I don't even know who it is, they just walk over and they're like, "We need to like make you look all bloody," and I'm like, I brought my own wardrobe. They're like, well, like do you like this shirt a lot? And I was like, I don't know. And they're like, can we like cut it up and put blood on it? And I was like, yeah, whatever. It's fine. I think you guys offered to get me a new shirt. It made me look like a pirate. I didn't really like
yeah,
it.
but
anyway.
back then we were so reactionary. Like if we destroy your wardrobe, we'll just buy you something new, rather than getting wardrobe for our films.
Yeah, 100%.
Which we did get a few things like leather jackets and stuff. Kyle Glenham, I remember when we cast him, he was like, "Oh great, I'll be in a short film. I'm so excited," And then we end up putting a bag over his head
for actually the entire film. Does it ever come off?
No. And I asked Logan towards the end because I felt so bad. I'm like, do you want to I don't know, maybe last moment he takes the bag off.
That seems fitting.
Yeah, and I seem to remember Logan saying no, but I could be wrong about that. Or maybe we did shoot it, but we ended up cutting it and editing or something. But it's a really lovely film. And Logan, I mean, to this day, he might have been
excellent.
One of our finest editors, too. The sound design. I mean, I remember for weeks and weeks him just zoning in, telling people, don't distract me, I'm working. And he figured it out. He had some experience, I think, with audio dramas that he would kind of produce on his own.
It was really good.
But he did great. And we had what did we do that year? There was Morgan Winter's film about the cocky actor who kind of has to learn humility.
That was good. I'm trying to remember. Spotlight. I made the
Spotlight. Yes. Top Dog.
Was that year?
Yes. So the seniors were graduated not graduated, but they leave campus early, 2 weeks and for reasons. So I'm stuck with my juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. And that's Michael O'Leary, Julian Bonilla, Ian Schubert, right? Macy Shipman, and Gabby De Silva, this little crowd of people that I'm so excited about. But I wanted to kind of pull a prank on the seniors who had just left and produce an entire short film in the time they were gone between then and the showcase that they would inevitably attend.
Which is less than a month away.
Yeah, and my challenge to the juniors was, let's try to make a film that's better than the ones they spent the entire semester making in 2 weeks.
That's a fun prank.
And we tried. Of course, how do you wager those things? What's better, what's worse? I still think Lost Sun is a really beautiful work of art. I think Top Dog is fun. You don't really compare those, but it was, we nailed it at the showcase when the seniors are coming up and being like, where did that last film come from? When did you make that? It was hysterical. And then, of course, we made the sequel. Mm-hmm. Those are really funny, quirky year. I'm trying to think if there were any other major short films.
Oh, no, this must have been did we film that film at the bank that year with Doreen and Isabel Maldonado? That might have been, was that my sophomore year? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking at the seniors 2020.
Well, I felt no, that was Coffee Mate. Macy directed it. Was she a freshman?
Yeah,
or
look,
sophomore?
Doreen graduated 2021. So Coffee Mate, Doreen was on that film.
Yeah.
And Macy
I
directed.
remember because it was my first year because some students, while I was not paying attention, took my wallet, not to steal it, but to find out how old I was. And they did. But it was May at that time, so I didn't mind so much.
Yeah, but that was a really charming film. Coffee Mate. We ended up casting Kyle Glenham and not putting a bag over his head.
He looks so much better without the bag.
Believe it or not. But Macy Shipman directed. She was a sophomore at the time, and I think we were just trying to give her the experience and prepare her for leadership. And immediately we kind of set a tone in our program that, yes, we'll try to prioritize our seniors who are going off to college and need something for their applications, try to prioritize them and slate them to direct something their senior year. But we also need to be conscious of our younger kids and giving them the opportunity as well. So it was a really special showcase. I think it really showed a robust kind of programming, including the Explore films from that year too. Mm-hmm. But in the middle of that year, it's COVID, and really throughout the year, understandably, you and I are called upon to record all sorts of events that used to be live in person.
Oh yeah.
But because we couldn't have audiences on campus,
we'll just film it.
Yeah, we just got to go pre-recorded. And that was everything from senior awards ceremony and teacher awards to general PTA videos,
art showcases.
Yes, all the showcases needed to be filmed and such. And, I think it was an immense undertaking, but we did somewhat sink into a rhythm. But then the Christmas concert came around. Christmas, which is usually done at the Kravis Center, now we're going to produce.
I've never seen that at the Kravis Center. We haven't gone back, right? We do it here now.
Correct.
Okay, but I remember hearing about it, and I hadn't heard about a lot of things. So I was like, this must be a mammoth because I know about it. And I didn't go here.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was such a huge undertaking. David Snyder did a marvelous job as the director of our program. He would bring in everybody from, I think, JK kindergarten all the way to seniors. So it was just the entire school. I mean, when they were doing the rehearsals at Kravis, the school was empty because almost every child was involved in some way. You had elementary teachers chaperoning backstage their particular classes. I mean, it was amazing. It was truly like definitionally spectacular. So we wanted to keep something going, and I totally like believed in that. I'm like, yeah, we have to do something special for Christmas because it's Christmas, and that's like what Kings does. So I don't remember how, but we just started filming and piecemealing all these different groups, from dance to jazz band to normal band, choir, soloists, like all over campus. Because we didn't want to just shoot it all in the theater stage.
Oh, yeah. To clarify, this was not like, and I remember you did most of the shooting. You know, don't be modest. You did, I think, probably 93%, 95% of it, a lot, while I was teaching. But yeah, we didn't live stream something or pre-record something on the stage as if that was the Kravis. We just decided to make it look like we wanted to film it. So they filmed each piece on a different part of campus, and then it was stitched together afterwards, which meant not filming one evening or something like that. It was filming for like 2 weeks, different classes as they became available.
Which was super, and honestly, looking back, like there were a lot of like fun parts of that. Like I loved showing up to the soccer field with, I believe I might have had Jack Walter, Garrett Weisberg, Morgan Winters, Ryan Kavanaugh, you know, like kind of whoever was in my class that period would just kind of come over with me. Or they would come early if we were going for a sunrise shot, and I'm droning while they're getting a wide shot and close-ups of people. And it's a true, like, it is a production, and we would run the song once or twice to make sure that we had enough footage, and they would then go and record the audio in more of a controlled space with Brad Meisner doing the final mix. So it was a production house. And I suppose that's actually our first feature film. In one sense.
I remember you editing in here, and Dave Snyder, probably Brad was also here, Brad Meisner.
And Nate Adams too.
Nate Adams. I was just watching, you editing it. And then I think you made a comment like, this is about 2 hours. So that's the first feature-length thing I've done. And like, I couldn't tell if you were proud or depressed. And maybe both.
It was probably tired. You know, looking back, it was epic, and it was something that was like totally necessary for our community. But I know, knowing David, he scheduled things well. I am the one who is notoriously horrible at looking at my schedule.
Oh, do you want me to?
Yeah, you remember the day, I'm sure.
Oh, of course. It was a bright morning. I couldn't tell here in the cave, but I knew it was bright outside, and there was a knock at the door, and then it opened, and it was David Snyder. And I only got to know him a little bit because we only overlapped for a short time, but he was like super energizing to be around, and I was like, oh, something cool is going to happen. And I was kind of right. He's like, hey, do you know where Austin is? And I was like, I think he's in a plane. And he said, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, I think he's filming something for the aviation program, because we also have like a plane program here. And so he was like, you were like 6,000 feet in the air with a camera. And he was like, oh, well, he didn't get flustered. He was like, well, we were going to be filming something with elementary this morning, to sing. And I was like, oh, do you need me to do it? Like, and he's like, oh, that'd be great. And he's like, cool. We're all, like he said so calmly, he's like, we're all standing out. Like we're
costumes, there. Right? They were in the angel costumes, the little JKers.
Maybe something. Yeah, they're like, not old. So I'm like trying to figure out what equipment we have still, because like it's my first semester. Like I kind of threw a wide lens on. I just set my aperture to like 11. I was like, everything will be in focus.
Yeah.
I'm like desperately like defogging the lens, because if you have never filmed in Florida, if you leave a camera in the air conditioning and then walk outside, you need like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So I just keep defogging it. I just walked around the kids for like 3 takes, and I was like, we got it. And like with the most confident voice I could get, and he goes, thanks. And I was like, perfect.
So then I return, and you're handing me the SD card. Like,
that was one of the 2 events I filmed, I think.
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
it was wild. And so we stitched it together, and I'm quite proud, because it is rather epic.
It's so epic.
But editing it was kind of a tour de force, because we filmed the dancers separate from the choir, but they're actually doing the same number. So when to choose to cut to the dancers versus the choir, those are really hard artistic decisions that you don't have to make when it's a live production, because the audience will choose what they're looking at.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, well, what do the parents want to see? Well, they want to see their kid, and their kid is in 2 different groups. So I literally suggested to David, I'm like, do you want to do a split screen? That's a little corny. So we just did the best we can. And I know there were probably some frustrations. I mean, I even talked to Lena Apicella, because she had a really awesome dance move that we ended up cutting around. But I think it was more for, honestly, a camera issue
Yeah,
than an artistic one.
That is hard with close-ups and stuff. You're cutting out people when normally the viewer's eye decides who to cut out, and that's kind of on them. They get to pick. They get to watch their own kid or their friends or whoever.
Right. So at that point, I think we were in a really good place as a company that we had produced really, really beautiful, number of short films. We had done the Explore videos, and broadcasting was probably as good as it was going to
Some
get.
pretty great.
Oh yeah,
great
so
segments.
charming.
I think this is definitely jumping ahead, but Christian Proscia in particular, I know he had a couple he did treat it like a documentary class. Like he did a spot on his friend on the
Josh
swim team,
Zukowski.
Josh. Yeah, and it was like a 6-minute spot with like GoPro footage, and it was like great. So it was certainly a good end product.
Right. It was just getting there that was exhausting.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so we had done so many wonderful things, and the cherry on top was like we just produced the greatest Christmas spectacular, and other schools I know were even talking. I think West Low had gotten an email, how did you guys do that? And he was like, I don't know if you're in a position to even try, honestly, because you and I, your photography teacher, film teacher, we just so happen to have the skill set on campus in 2 people. If you were to outsource something like that, it'd be a fortune, I imagine. So we're wrapping that up, and at about this time, I think David Snyder had commissioned us, leaders of our little departments, to do a little vision casting. We actually had to fill out a sheet of paper that said 3-year vision for your program. Where do you want to grow? What do you want to add? What do you want to see?
I remember that.
Yeah, and it felt we get a lot of documents that we have to fill out here. Some of it seems like, I'll just kind of scratch out whatever I think they're looking for and submit it. But this one I really took my time with and thought, well, I've been so inspired to see what David did with his theater program, to see what pre-law was doing down the hallway, aviation after being up in the plane. I'm like, okay, let's think about it. Feature film, to correct myself, he had actually given us that sheet probably a year before that. Actually, we were coming up on about year 2 at that point, but on that was my desire to possibly produce a feature film as like a summer program with the kiddos. So just after Kravis, I asked him about it and said, hey, what do you think about this idea? And I think we had even crunched some of the numbers at that point too.
You talked with me. You mentioned the feature film. I think it was my first week here. You mentioned it in passing. We were eating Chick-fil-A. That you were like, maybe let's make a movie over the summer, and it had come up. I don't remember to what extent.
I think I was committed to it in the sense that either we were going to do it with the school or I would just buy a camera and do it anyway. I think I knew that summer I was going to try something, but I would love to do it with and through the school because this is where my passions are, and I wanted to see the students have that experience too, not just like me. So we get welcomed into an admin meeting. David Snyder had preliminarily, I think, shared some of those items with them, but he thought it would be better coming from us. So we go in with the plan to pitch the film and 2 other things.
So we go into this admin meeting, and I don't know if you thought I could handle this or you just wanted to seem it like we were splitting the duties of presenting equally, because I remember you had a several page pitch document and you briefed me on it and you were like, this is your part. And I was like, okay, I can do this. But I was like, this is insane what we're asking for. So we asked for 3 things. And I'll start from the least significant to the most significant. So the least significant thing, we said, hey, we would love some new desks in the classroom because we're using normal flat desks and we've got 1 million cables and we'd like to just have editing desks, That was it. That was the whole thing. Then the second part was we might want to make a feature film. Here's how much we think it would cost. Here's the general plot. You had a treatment written. And then thirdly, in the future, big stretch goal, we have been looking at this technology. Basically, it's an LED wall. It would let us kind of shoot in our existing space. So here's a quote for that. And that was kind of the extreme goal. So we were hoping that one looks extreme. So maybe we want it, but maybe it'll make the middle goal look a little more reasonable,
right,
so to speak. So not to jump ahead, but if you've seen anything we've ever posted, that we got the feature film, which is what we'll talk about soon. And we got the permission eventually, actually the next year, to have the LED wall installed. The only thing we never got were the desks. And I was like, that was my part. That was what I asked for. So I don't know what I did wrong. But
it's so funny. In a way, with the new building.
Oh yeah, we got a whole new building, and then that had the desks. So no complaints at all. I just was like, this is wild. So they went for the other stuff.
Yes. And we had mentioned these might have been separate conversations. I don't remember if it was that meeting, but also hiring someone additional to help with auxiliary video projects because we were run pretty dry after doing the Christmas concert. And they'd also said yes to that. And that's what led to Phil King getting hired, which I'm so grateful for.
Oh, man.
Because something I learned in that meeting with the pitch for Fountain of Youth is I came in thinking I was talking to, just business people. And so I really tried to emphasize that this would be great for marketing purposes for our school. And we could even submit it for awards and who knows, distribution on Netflix and Hulu or whatever you guys desire. Great educational experience. But what I wasn't prepared to talk about that they were maybe most interested in was the story. And I felt like such a dummy afterwards. Like, well, of course, any good pitch, you're trying to get people to really understand your vision and be excited. And a huge part of that, no matter if you're a business person or an academic or a film producer, is tell me the story. And so I remember that part I was actually least prepared for, and I did a little bumbling, but I'm glad I had, the story written out. I could kind of just slide across their desks.
Oh, yeah.
But it was really nice. We were carving out that treatment, which eventually became the full screenplay once we were greenlit. And it really did just focus on our personal experiences. I think coming to King's Academy, I was like an Asher June who, liked this place, but really wanted to get back out there and do great things that would be noticed apart from King's. And by the end of the film, Asher actually gets the archaeology club working here. He creates a club where he's able to still have those fun experiences, but now is grafting students into it and finding just the great joy that is being an educator. So it was so on the nose that was basically yours and my experience, I think, not to speak for you, but the longer time we spent here, the more I said, I don't want to be out there. I love this place. I love the students, and I love having authentic, great experiences with them here in Studio 70.
Yeah. The scene that I thought you might be bringing up, and now I'm curious, I've never actually questioned this. There's an opening scene. You can probably picture it even if you haven't seen the film. Imagine a teacher explaining something passionately in a close-up, and then slow disclosure, we move out to a wide shot after he finishes with a question, like a life-changing question. And then the whole class is, dark. They're not paying attention. You hear people on their phones. A kid asks a question, but it's just, can I go to the bathroom? And it's kind of depressing. Like, oh, this teacher wants to be passionate and no one's listening, which to me, that's where I kind of thought you were going with that. And I felt that a little bit at some points, but now right in the end of the movie, he's teaching. I'm trying to remember if is it on the same subject? Is he still on Ponce de Leon, or is he on something new?
Yeah, it's sort of Ponce de Leon. It's Legends.
He's talking about a similar subject. It's the same students, the same class, presumably the same year. After he's been MIA from work, I guess, for a week or something. And they're pretty engaged. And I'm trying to figure out like what changed that makes that the case. And maybe it was just like plot convenient that now they're paying attention. But what do you think about that journey could make a teacher be someone who is saying similar stuff but having engaged students? Because you have that now. You have philosophy prompts on your board every day, and the kids are like raising their hands and talking to you all the time, and I hear it. But I don't know if it was always like that for you.
I think the difference was that Asher turned on the lights, that in the first scene, the lights are off, and so the kids can sleep, but then he turned them on. I'm just kidding. That was
honestly the
cinematography.
pro tip. If you are teaching, just have the lights on before they come in.
No, but that was cinematography, just mimicking what was going on. The lights were on in the second scene because, it was more optimistic and things were going well.
Gotcha.
I think it was his confidence. It comes in when he realizes that, I think Bree Taylor raises her hand. Can I go to the bathroom? And he's frustrated by it and says, come on, guys, we're talking about everlasting life here. Like he's frustrated that it's not working, that they're not connecting. At the end, he's relaxed and confident, knowing, some battles I can't win. Sometimes a kid's going to raise their hand and need to go to the bathroom. And I think students sometimes sense that when you're anxious, frustrated, and just plain old like unhappy with how things are going. But the moment he kind of resigned himself a little bit to the normal little idiosyncrasies of teaching, the students were a little more willing to engage. It's like he was just more authentic, I guess, and real. He wasn't trying to hide his age, from them anymore. He wasn't anxious or worrisome or frustrated. I think that's sort of the surrender.
That really could be it, right? And even in the last scene, someone raises their hand and he goes, bathroom, and then he goes, all right, get out of here.
And now he's fine with it.
But like, it's like you're embracing it, and you're like, it's like when you're a comedian. I've never been a comedian, but someone heckles you, and you're like, oh, hey, like, and you like just run with it as opposed to being like, stop interrupting my show, which is again, I would probably be tempted to do that, but.
So, to wrap up the Fountain of Youth little story, I know I went in to talk to David Snyder in the theater, maybe the next day or a day later. I was catching up about something else, like college auditions or something like that, and he ended up bringing it up. He said, they said yes to the new hire, yes to your movie. They're going to wait on the desks. And I remember like having to keep my cool because I really wasn't expecting a yes on the movie. So I just said, well, okay, good, interesting. We'll get to work. But really I was like Legend of Zelda, yes, with my fist in the air. And I came to you later and shared the news, and we just started writing, I guess.
And
we, I mean me.
Yes, 100%.
But then of course you edited.
It was very like, obviously we're like sitting here recording a podcast now, like we're still tight knit. It's not like we're that big where I don't see you ever. But that first semester, it was like, there was just nobody else. So you would write, I read the drafts a couple times, I'd write, make notes. I remember you asked me what role I maybe wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what possessed me to say art director. I don't know. I thought crafts were fun. I have no experience doing that.
Looked great.
We'll talk about that soon, about why I think it did end up working okay. But yeah, I think I was just maybe not confident enough to say I wanted to do like DP or cinematography work, which ended up, great. Good thing that I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could have done okay, but Zach did great.
Right.
So yeah, thrilled.
So we spent that spring semester just trying to corral the right people, Zach to get on board, hiring Phil, and most importantly, the students, trying to convince them that 40 days.
This is a good idea. You should pay us a class fee to do this.
To come and work on a movie with us. And I'll never forget the 11 who said yes.
Thanks again for joining us today. If you enjoyed our content, consider subscribing. Studio 70 is a division of the King's Academy, a K-12 private Christian school in West Palm Beach, Florida. For more information, visit studio70.tv or tka.net.